Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another Make It With Me Monday episode. So glad that you're able to join me here live tonight. And of course, if you're watching this later, thank you for doing that as well. I always upload them to my YouTube channel so you guys can catch up anytime you want and see what kind of cards we may have made on our Monday nights. So while we wait for some more people to pop in, I will share some more birthday cards that showed up over the weekend and end of last week that I think I posted most of these already, but just in case I didn't. So I got this one from Mary Filter. Thank you, Aunt Mary. Lovely use of really fun DSP there, and there's a little shimmer of gold, which is pretty fun. And this one was made by Jessie. So there's some really cute DSP on there, a little bit of bling. And this one is made by Margaret, and I don't know why, but for some reason I kept calling her Michelle in my head, so it got posted under the wrong name, so very much apologize. Margaret, it's absolutely adorable, and she said it was a flashback to the first ever Make It With Me Monday that we did, so she used the layout from there and gave me a little, like my own little Flashback Friday episode of that. And then this one came from Mary Lynn. Oops, let me get the envelope out of the way. Look at that fun paper she had. I love the frog with the little crown. And this is again a layout we did a week or two ago with the color blocking. So super, super cute. Thank you guys all so much for sending in those birthday cards. I will continue to share them as they come through. Just because my birthday is over doesn't mean the celebrating is. I have lots of things to still share with you. Some of the decor that I've been making based on your color suggestions and stamp set suggestions and all that fun stuff. So there'll still be lots more birthday celebration to come, and don't forget to still put in your orders, and you'll be able to receive a grab bag of goodies from me when you place a qualifying celebration order. So that'll be super cool. Hi Michelle, nice to see you tonight. All right, so I'm gonna go over quickly what you should have had on hand, and I'm hoping everybody caught my typo. When I listed the card base, I accidentally listed it as a 5 1/4 score. That's not right. That's not half the card. Hi, Judy. Good to see you tonight. So you should have a card base that's 5 1/2 by 8 1/2. That's our standard card base size, and scored at 4 1/4, which is again the half point. And I have cherry cobbler for mine tonight. Then you should have 2 pieces of neutral cardstock, and remember, neutral is anything that can be, well, I mean, neutral, obviously. White, vanilla, and then I'll even show you a version I did where I used crumb cake as my neutral color. Because some of those browns and even like navy blue, depending on what you're doing with it, some of those can be considered neutral as well. So you should have a piece that's 4 by 5 1/4, and you should have a piece that's 2 1/4 by 3 3/4. So I have basic white. Then you need 2 squares of designer series paper that are each 2 1/4 by 2 1/4. And I almost got worried for a minute because I forgot to tell you if they would be used vertically or horizontally, but then I remembered they were a square, and it doesn't matter. My 2 pieces tonight are coming from Tidings of Christmas, and that is a Christmas DSP that's actually in the annual catalog. You get a stack of 6 by 6 sheets, and you actually get 8 each of the 6 different patterns. And while yes, they're Christmassy to a point, there's a lot of this that is very plain and simple colors and patterns, so it doesn't necessarily scream Christmas in every pattern. That obviously with holly, but here's the one I'm using tonight, and actually I didn't really get a Christmas vibe off of this one at all. It reminds me more of a fall look with the way those leaves are there, a little cornstalk looking. But hi Jessie, good to see you tonight. And there's a simple stripe. This one does have a little bit of a holly look to it, and that has pine cones. But it's, again, they're very tone on tone, and so a lot of those, hi Claire, good to see you tonight. And there again, there's one that to me doesn't feel very Christmassy. I just get leaves, and there's more leaves on the back. So it's one to consider, especially since you get 8 sheets of each. It really gives you a lot to work with, where you could do lots of great multiples of your same card because you have so much more paper to work with. Okay, and then lastly, you should have a piece of cardstock, and it can either coordinate. Hi, Carol. It can either be the same as your card base or coordinate. Mine is a coordinating. I'm using Sahara Sand, and you want the piece that's 2 1/2 by 4. All right, then you need stamps and inks and all those fun things to fill up your white piece or your neutral piece. that is 2 1/4 by 3 3/4. So go ahead and grab those for you tonight, whatever those are. I'm going to be using Love of Leaves. This is also in the annual catalog, and it's on page 115. Also comes with a matching die that has the stitched edges to cut out the leaves with. Super, super cute. And I really just love the fonts that they used in here. They're very cutesy and delicate. And I really like the way that those compare to like leaves, which feel more solid and sturdy. So that is the one that I'm going to be using tonight. And I'm going to be using Cherry Cobbler and Sahara Sand, the two colors that go with my designer series paper that I'm using. All right, so grab your white piece of paper, or your neutral, I should say. Mine's white. And then go ahead and stamp whatever you want to in there. I'm going to start with my phrase, and it says, "Your friendship is something I know I can count on." I'm going to do that just right in the middle of my piece. So again, you guys go ahead and decorate up your piece however you're doing it. I'm going to use one of the leaves from here, but I'm also going to stamp it off. I want just a little more delicate. I'll show you what it looks like full strength on the back here. They add some shading right into the leaf itself as part of the stamp. So you get some really interesting light and shade in there, but that's a little too stark or too dark for what I want over here. So I'm going to stamp off each time so that it goes on a little bit lighter. You can see the difference there. It's a lot darker versus when you stamp it off. All right, and I'm just going to add one of my leaves to each of my corners. A little bit random, not perfectly framed, but I just want to add a little background to that part there. All right, so you guys go ahead and finish up your neutral piece. And I'm sure you can guess that the next part of that is to put it on the layer that you cut. That is the 2 1/2 by 4. So again, either the same card base or different color cardstock than what you had for your neutral piece. So we'll go ahead and mount that on there. And then I'm just going to set that off to the side. And we're going to grab our card base. Now, if you have a dark colored card base, you're probably going to want another piece of neutral paper, that's the 4 by 5 1/4, to use on the inside of your card so that you have a place to stamp and write into there. So we are going to be using it this way, the portrait way, not landscape, so portrait. Okay, so first thing you're going to do is put that neutral piece of paper on there. Mine almost looks like nope, that's right. For a second I thought it was cut too big. Must be my now 50-year-old eyeballs playing tricks on me, right? All right, so that should be put on with a nice even layer all the way around. Then you're going to grab your two pieces of DSP that are each 2 1/4 square. So if you have a pattern that has direction, make sure it's going up and down, because this is going to be an up and down type of card. Now you have a little bit of freedom here. I'm going to place mine, I'll show you first, so that they kind of fit border to border in the corner. Leaves a little bit more space here. You could bring it over and closer. There's another option as well. So do whatever feels right for what you like to do. So like I said, I'm going to put mine towards the corners and keep the progressive border going this way, so that the border between my DSP and the white looks about the same as my border between the white and the card base. Hopefully that makes sense as you're looking at it. And like I said, it's going to leave a little bit more room in between mine, but I'm okay with that. I want that white to show through a little bit there. All right, so we're going to set that aside. Now, if you have dimensionals, you might want to use them here. It's totally up to you. You're going to take your piece that is stamped and mounted, and I'm going to add dimensionals to mine. So corner, corner, whoop, corner, corner, and one for the middle just for fun. Or you can adhere that directly onto your cardstock. Totally your call. I feel like I have to hiccup, so I'm trying to not do that very loudly on camera. Sorry, guys. Okay, so you're going to take that piece that we stamped there, and you're going to overlap it onto your two squares, like so. And that is your basic layout for tonight. I will, of course, in a few seconds here, show you all the stepped-up versions of what I used, of different ways to do this. So just a reminder for what I used for here, that was Love of Leaves stamp set, Cherry Cobbler, Sahara Sand, and the Tidings of Christmas DSP. All right, so while you guys are catching up, I'll still leave this here so you can see the basic one as you're still working with yours. As you know, if you've been following my Facebook page, obviously I had a birthday recently, a pretty big one. One of the things I had you guys pick out for me as part of the birthday thing is a color scheme and a stamp set to use for birthday decor. So, and we're going to work this backwards and show you the very last thing of decor, or birthday, whatever, which would be for the thank you cards for all of the lovely cards and gifts that I've received. So this is on a black cardstock, which is why it's kind of, hi Kathy, good to see you tonight. It's hard to see there, but you guys picked Just Jade along with the white and the black. So that is our Just Jade color. And Party Puffins is the stamp set you guys chose for me to use. So Party Puffins is on, in the annual catalog, page 67. The You're the Best comes from there as well. The Thanks I took from Biggest Wish, which is on page 63. And then this is just our Color Family DSP. So it's the 20 to 22 in color collection, which has the Just Jade in it. Okay, so there is my thank you card for using the same layout, same concept, and that's going to be part of the whole collection of birthday things I show you guys as we go through stuff. All right, then in the new mini catalog, there's another really cute animal set with squirrels. I don't know if any of you are fans of squirrels or annoyed by squirrels, depending on, especially if you are bird feeder people. I hear that those guys are such a menace to bird feeders. But there's a stamp set called Nuts About Squirrels, and it's on page 49 of the mini catalog. And so I used that tonight on here. Again, this is Color Family Designer Series paper, so this is from the neutral pack. I used, as you can see, I used crumb cake as my neutral here to I didn't want quite so much white to be there, but crumb cake is my neutral here. I did leave this white so that it could pop off the squirrel a little bit better. So it's crumb cake and soft suede are the color schemes here. All right, and again, that part's popped up on dimensionals. And then this one, I actually created my own paper. I used the stamp set in the Celebration catalog called Textures and Frames. And as you can see, that's basically what that is. There's little frame shapes, circles and squares, and then there's textures like splats, and then solid circles, solid square, I think, stripes, different little things like that. And you can use them by themselves or make really fun patterns with them. So that's exactly what I did here. I took a piece of basic white paper and stamped all over. I used Pacific Point for the frame. I used Magenta Madness for the splotch, and then Granny Apple Green for the open circle, and just random all over each other, and then cut it up to use into this pattern. And because it was a white base and I still wanted white here, I added just a tiny layer behind each of them. So these have a tiny Pacific Point layer, and this one has a tiny Granny Apple Green layer. And then from the stamp set Threw It Together, which you'll find on page 72, that got this phrase, it says, sending you a paper hug. I think that one is really, really cute. So think about that when you have something where you want to add, color and pattern, but you don't quite have just the right designer series paper, pattern paper in your stash. Go to things that have little images or, textures, things like that, and start creating. Create with your own. Come up with a color palette that you like and just go crazy. Right, Kathy? Like I said, I think there's certain people I've heard, they have definitely, they're either squirrels or their nemesis or something like that. So, yeah, so he probably comes to visit you though, right? And say hi. Okay, and lastly, we're going to go back to, here's my version that I just did on screen for you, and here's my stepped up version. So what I did was I switched out my neutral. You can see I used crumb cake instead of the basic white, and I added texture to this layer with an embossing folder, the Tasteful Textiles. So there's a little texture on that. And I added a frame or a border layer to the DSP itself. I added just a little bit of more paper behind just to gather a little bit of interest. It's about 1/4 inch wide of just that cherry cobbler. And instead of regular rectangles, I went to my dies. This is the Scallop Contours dies, and those are on page 158. And I got a die that was close to the size of what we were using here. And then I just cut a piece for the inside that would fit that frame that pops up. So, and then I used, this is the Fine Art ribbon. It's about 3/8 wide, and it's got little gold flecks in it. So it's kind of like a woven crumb cakey brown color, but then there's those tiny little flecks of gold inside there. So it's really kind of a fun one to play with. And I just did a simple knot just to give a little bit of bling. You know, I like bling. We want to find those ways to add bling. And I think I forgot to point out on his little hat here. Is it showing up? I'm not sure if it's showing up. I put Wink of Stella in the little dots and on the poof at the top. So that's my bling on my Mr. Party Puffin. All right, guys, that is, again, here's what you were supposed to work with tonight, sizes, and regular and stepped up. So basically, as usual, my stepped up versions really just involve adding layers, textures, other accessories, or possibly different shapes to what I'm doing. I use the exact same stamp set and ink pads, so it's still cobbler and Sahara sand, just a little bit extra of each of those paper layers, a little bit of added interest, texture for the background. Excuse me. So like I said, that's the easiest way to go ahead and step up the simple version of what you get. This is obviously always lovely on its own, and especially, you know, depending on what kind of time you have, then you have more, you know, if you have more time to put in it, you go these extra layers. And you can see this one I did put a little bit closer, and this one's a little bit further away because I was going to bring all of this together more. I literally brought those elements a little bit more together. So that's part of the difference. Like I said, we could play with these squares, move them in a little bit more, closer together, whatever you want to do with some of those. All right, that is the quick and simple versions for tonight. So there's bringing them all back in, and my thank you card. These squirrels are totally adorable, and I've really been into the cute animals lately. I've got squirrels and penguins and what was the other one? Oh, the sheep. Oh my gosh, the sheep from the Celebration catalog are so cute. Super, super, super cute. So yeah, and I like that this is a two-step one. So the color filled in with a second stamp. So I didn't have to color him at all. I didn't have to color the acorn. Those were just fill-ins. Totally fun and easy to work with. All right, everybody. If you have any questions, of course, as always, thanks guys. I'm glad you like this one. Pop onto the Facebook page just after this gets loaded. Leave me questions there. I'm happy to answer them. It'll also end up on YouTube if you want to check it out later and save it or share it with a friend or whatever you want to do. I'll post, of course, all the page numbers and stamp sets and all that fun stuff so you don't have to try to remember. Thank you so much, Kathy. It was a really good birthday weekend. I very much enjoyed it. And it's really fun to still be able to celebrate with you guys. Like I said, I'm going birthday month this year. I don't normally do that, but this year it kind of felt like it was needed. All right, everybody, I will see you next Monday. Thanks so much for joining me. Bye-bye.